Finance is difficult to learn because it's gatekept. That's a dark side that no one really touches on. So it naturally created a divide of people who are super into it and people who don't care.
Okay.
And there's no one in the middle who's like, actually, this is an important part of my life.
Why don't we like to track?
Because, it forces you to face the reality. There's no way for me to make sure you're doing your finances as an individual, because that's a vitamin, right? You'll be a better person if you do it, but you're not gonna cease to exist.
Great way to put it, a vitamin, yeah.
But for a business, it's a painkiller. You
Yeah.
will get in trouble. Finance traditionally has been a month-end exercise.
It's reflective.
It's reflective. That's a really good way to put it. But yeah, the reason they don't track is because there's no use of reflecting. It's just pain.
Everyone loves a comeback story. Everyone loves that hero arc of excitement, got fucked up, went back up.
Being a founder is being able to get a lot done without resources and still delivering really high quality, high performance work. Being a CEO is trying to multiply that.
Ajinkya Tanpure, better known as AJ, is a mechanical engineer turned venture capitalist turned fintech founder. He is the founder and CEO of Crossval and is on a mission to eliminate the pain of accounting with automation, AI, and smart financial workflows. In this episode, we talk about his leap from engineering to finance, the realities of the founder to CEO journey, and why good communication, clear positioning, and tracking what matters can make or break your business. Did you know that 44% of podcasts stop after episode 3? So that means all that time, energy, and money is just wasted and you never get to truly see the benefits of podcasting. So if you want your show to stay alive and healthy, you can book a call in the link below and let's get started today.
Thanks, Khaled. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. So I always like to give the audience context, my man, of how we met. So we got connected through Ronnie. Big shout out. Love you, bro. Who's obviously part of Founder Connects community. I'm so passionate about that you're part of too. And he told me about, I was told him, man, I'm looking for someone to speak to in the financial space. I'm trying to learn more about that space. He's like, man, speak to AJ. He knows the stuff. I'm like, okay, cool. Then I checked out what you built, bro, with Crossval, and I watched a couple of podcasts you were on, and it's very interesting to see how your career started from, you started off as engineering, then ended up in finance, something you hear a lot, a lot about. So what I wanted to do today, my man, is just dive into, because you're building a fintech company essentially. And as you know, fintech is such a massive space here now. There's so much investment going into it. But I want to understand from you the benefits, the drawbacks. I want to talk about Crossval, what you guys do, your journey. I know you started working with startups, but now you work with also enterprise clients. And just dive into that whole world and your journey, my man. But before we get into everything, AJ, why don't you give all of us a little bit of background about yourself and we'll take it from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. And yeah, thanks to Ronnie as well. He's created so many opportunities for us.
Yeah, man. Ronnie's the best.
Awesome. Yeah. Like any good Indian kid, went and studied engineering, did 4 years of that. But through the process, I went to China for a semester.
Okay.
And it was the University of Finance and Economics. And a professor there sort of pushed me more towards finance. He was like, look, this might be a good way to sharpen your quantitative skills. So I decided to spend some time there, learn more about finance. And I was quite hooked. So I came back, started off my CFA, did my level 1. And that turned into an internship at a consulting firm here. And then from there, I went to a VC. That was really sort of how I made the transition. And I really enjoyed sort of applying the math skills from engineering in finance. So that was a lot of fun.
So what was it about, I guess, when you took that semester? Because my background's the same in the sense of, but we went two different paths. So I started off as a civil engineer, and then that did not work out because, fuck engineering. Sorry, guys. It just wasn't for me. And then I transitioned into finance and economics. I did double major in that. So again, that's why we have a similar journey. I just did it through university, and you did it through your career instead. But what I loved about finance personally, I'm curious to hear what drew you to it, is finance taught me at least how business works. Growing up as a kid, you think, okay, mom and dad go do this thing called work in this, and they generate this thing called business, and business brings this thing called money, and money is how I get shit, right? But I had no idea what is business? How does a company work? Valuations. I didn't understand how business is run. So for me, that was the biggest draw to me because I'm like, oh, this is how, it was kind of like my wake up calls to this is kind of how the world works. What was it for you?
I think engineering for me, I really enjoy engineering. I think I'm still an engineer at heart. I like solving problems. But through university, we would work on projects with, groups of 3 or 4 people. When I went out into the real world and got a job in engineering, I was working on a project with like 50 people. And I was responsible for like one screw on a boat. Yeah. And that killed the excitement for me, right?
Okay.
Because it would take you maybe 20 years to have the skill set to then be maybe the head of the whole project and then have that whole view. Whereas in finance, the cycles are much shorter.
Yeah.
A deal is like 3 months, 4 months on the longest side. There are longer deals, but on average, it's 3 to 4 months. But you get complete ownership because you're, again, a team of 3 or 4 people on the whole deal, and you can see every aspect of the deal in detail, and you do maybe 3 or 4 of these a year, if not more. That's what was super exciting to me about finance. Just the volume of...
And the pace, I guess.
The pace and the volume of work that you're able to look at, as opposed to... You get to develop more of a generalist skill set, which I enjoyed. I don't think being a specialist was very exciting for me because it was a very... it needs a lot of patience. And
very true.
I think I was very impatient.
And also in terms of, so my younger brother is an architectural engineer, and I think in terms of career paths also, it's very different. Like engineers, as you know as well, you start typically, like if you're in civil, for example, on site, and that's a big chunk of the early years of your career, and then you move up to like a man, like, overseeing the project, and then you become a consultant. And that's when financially you start generating, I'd say, decent money as an engineer. But with finance, to your point, it's a lot faster. It's a lot more, you learn generalist skills, to your point. And if you can figure out those skills early on, I think you have a lot of that, typical leverage or compounding as you move through your career. That's just my take.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It is a quicker cycle. And then again, you have a lot more opportunity to go do something yourself, which is much more difficult in fields like engineering, because there's no way you can like put together an oil refinery and then call it a side hustle. But in finance, you can learn some of the stuff you're picking up at work and then go build a little website or an Instagram business or something of the sort, and have that sort of creative outlet from the skills you acquire. So it's definitely it's a cool angle, especially in your 20s.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the math really changes as like you get older, because then the doctors and engineers really start to make money.
Yeah, that's true.
Without the stress.
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, for your early 20s, it is probably the quickest way to learn.
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, the guys, just for the audience, this is not to shit on engineers or engineering, all right? It's just that this is just our take on it.
Yeah,
we wouldn't be sitting here in this room without engineers, so thank you, okay? So you started as a mechanical engineer, you did that for a couple of years, and then you dove into, the VC and the private equity world. And you've said that, you touched on it just now, you enjoy building things, but you don't want to build a rocket, or a car, or an oil refinery, to use your point. You wanted something that you could have more of an impact with. So walk me through that early, I guess, stage of when you made that shift into finance, and what was what were the challenges that you faced, and what kind of surprised you about that field? Because you started in VC, right?
Yes. I actually started in consulting as an intern.
Oh, okay.
But then moved to VC. But yeah, proper full-time was VC. I think the biggest challenge was just adapting, like all of the terms and the lingo within finance. That's tricky for everyone. I had to sort of pick that up. The CFA helps a lot with that. And then just being on the job also adds to it. I think that was probably the only challenge. I think engineering prepared me really well to like solve problems, work hard. That wasn't difficult because you do work long hours. But yeah, outside of that, not so much. I think the language and just understanding how business works, how money moves, and the variations of it, because you
it's a
might
pretty
be
big
just,
field, right?
Yeah, you might be just doing like tech M&A for all your life, but you'll rarely see the same deal happen twice. So just keeping up with that pace was probably one of the early challenges. But you get used to it after a couple of months, it gets quite easy. And that also became sort of the biggest motivator, because I was like, I don't fit in here, because all of my peers had MBAs or like business school degrees, etc. And they sort of came with this knowledge. So I really had to prove that my quantitative skills combined with the lingo and the financial knowledge would outperform. So that almost was a chip on my shoulder, which pushed me to work harder. So but in terms of like a specific challenge, nothing crazy.
Yeah,
it's a pretty easy transition. It's a common transition going from engineering to finance.
Yeah, that is very true. You know, a lot of people in finance do have engineering backgrounds because it's about problem solving. It's all about numbers, you know, money, all that kind of stuff. But we were just talking, you know, off camera, and I wanted to bring this into the conversation because it's actually, I think, very important.
Yeah.
So, as you know, VC. So I've had a VC on the podcast before, and we talked about how people get started in it, what are the benefits and the drawbacks. But you mentioned from your perspective that it was, I think there's a lot of good and a lot of bad when you're young. You know, I think when you're older, it's a little bit, to your point, I think it's a little bit different. So from what you were telling me is that the challenge the drawback when you're young is, as a VC, everyone wants to talk to you, the investors, you know, founders, you know, it comes with a certain prestige almost. And I think still VC as a whole is seen from that lens. But then, like you said, when you leave and then you wanted to build, you know, Crossval and you're a founder, it's like, oh shit, like, I'm just a, you know, a 20-year-old kid, you know, doing this thing and so on. So could you walk me through that experience? Because I think it's very important for young people who might be listening to this to understand what are all the benefits you got from it, but also what are the drawbacks that maybe you didn't take into account?
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you a lot of social currency, being like an analyst or an associate at VC, or rather any PE fund as well, because you've got everyone who wants to get access to capital, trying to talk to you, trying to build relationships with you, trying to be friends with you. And as much as you say that, I don't care about all that, I'm in this for like whatever, I care about the business side of it. It will get to you, and as a young person, 100%. And I validated with a few friends, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we went through this. This is very true." So me included, it really gives you a false sense of importance, which is, I don't know, maybe it's good because in your younger days you do need to be sort of pushed up, which a good mentor or boss can do as well. But you also need a reality check from time to time.
Very true, yeah.
Wait a second, everyone's not going to want to be friends with me if I'm not a part of this big fund or if I don't have access to all of this capital. And I think that's a dark side that no one really touches on.
That's the thing, yeah.
Once you get deep into it and you have real skills in that vertical, then it's different. But the first few years, I guess, with any finance job, investment banking, private equity, I think a lot of the TV shows have like
glorified it a lot.
Yeah,
big time. Yeah.
Because you get to see like the fancy dinners you go on, the suits you wear, the watches you wear, but you don't see like the 12 hours you're sitting in front of a spreadsheet and like just typing away formulas. I've always, when I watch these, I'm like, this is like,
there's some bullshit here. Yeah.
I mean, this is 1 hour of my day. The other 14 hours, I was like, I was doing PowerPoints and spreadsheets. It's funny. It is very real.
When did you realize? When was, I guess, the first moment? When you left VC, when was the first moment you realized this?
I think it was in COVID. This was before leaving, and I was doing the same job but remotely, like from home. And it forced me to really look at the work I was doing, because it cut out the lunches and the dinners and the meeting people and the events and the suits and all of that. And I was like, oh, am I still enjoying this? The first year of it was really fun. And then the subsequent years were not bad. But then it got to a point where I was like, I have the skills. I know what needs to be done on every deal. And it got to a point where I was like, okay, I'm not learning anything new. And that was my sort of trigger to make a change, because I wanted a bigger challenge. I wanted to do more. And yeah, I think being a founder was a good transition, because I suddenly was doing a lot more without any of the attention.
It's all in the dark. Only you know what's going on, right?
Yeah. But yeah, it really, being a founder is probably the reverse of the whole thing, where you have none of the attention, but all of the sort of grind. But yeah, that was like COVID. I think lockdown was the trigger for me.
Yeah, and I think so. It's I think it'd be, even myself included, when I was researching your story, that because he was a VC, I'm sure when he was a founder, it must have been like a lot easier for him, because he had all the conversations and understands founders' challenges and so on. But what I've learned, AJ, through my experience talking to people on the podcast, is no matter how long and successful of a career you've had, people who have been working for 20 years, 30 years, been the CEOs of the top companies, everyone has this like slap in the face realization, because when you have that title and prestige, you're like, oh, I want to talk to everyone's trying to get to you, the CEO, everyone wants to talk to you, meet with you, do deals with you, whatever. And then you lose that title and you become a founder. That prestige doesn't carry over. Yeah. Now you're the one calling people and no one's answering your calls. Now no one wants to talk to you anymore. You're like, I don't need you anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a very humbling thing that I've learned speaking to people. And no matter how long you've done it and what record you have, once you make that leap, whether you're a founder at 20 or you're a founder at 40 or 50, you're gonna go. Okay, obviously there's definitely some advantages and disadvantages, but the emotional and mental side is exactly the same. That's been my take. What are your thoughts?
No, 100%. I think it's easier to do it when you're young, because you have less to lose. You're less on the line.
Yeah.
But you also have fewer sort of leverage points. Like, you don't know enough about the world. So if you truly want to do it for the grind, do it when you're young. The outcomes are probably, I don't know what the math is again, but I'm sure the outcomes are better, like comparing a 20-year-old founder to a 45-year-old CEO who's quit and is now building. But yeah, if you want to do it for love of the game, as they say, it's so much easier when you're young, because you didn't have anything to begin with. Me, for example, people would answer my calls, but then when I thought about it a year or two in, I was like, yeah, but this doesn't mean anything. This is not the metric of success that I view for myself, because I like solving problems. I don't build things. I wanted to do that. I didn't care about sort of the attention that I was getting. So it's very personal, I think, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It is, you do go through sort of this dip where wait a second, is this what real life is like?
Yeah. Is this my value now? What happened?
Yeah. And you just have to build it back up. And you have to do it yourself, which is I guess 90% of the challenge, because so much of it is just mental. And if you can figure that piece out, you'll figure out the rest.
And on I think you touched on a good point. The mental side is, the common thread that any founder I speak to talks about: the mental side, the emotional side, the risk appetite. Can you how much? I've heard people that talk about, if you have a passion and you're building something that people actually need, and there's always going to be ups and downs, but if you can someone once told me this mark of a successful entrepreneur is how much pain can you take and for how long. And that really resonated. That one hit me. That one hit home. I know people who have dipped into the entrepreneurial founder space for a little while, and they're like, bro, fuck this, man. I don't want to deal with this. I just want more structure. I want things to be simpler or whatever. I think there is a personality aspect to it. Some people are more easier for them to do it than others. Doesn't mean it's impossible. And you talked about one thing you said on the podcast I watched, which was interesting, that when a VC says no, 99% of the time has nothing to do with you, know, but as a founder, that's even with you saying that's a tough pill to swallow, because you need that, right, to continue this, to keep going and so on. So from your perspective, because like I said, you've sat on both sides of the table. When you became a founder, I know that even with that experience, probably couldn't have prepared you for a lot of the mental side, that challenge that we talked about that comes with it. But I think there's a misconception here when it comes to VC. And this is what the last guest I spoke to told me. He's like, I've learned that people think about a VC from a purely monetary perspective, right? I need to work with this VC to get the money I need, whatever. But what he told me is like, sometimes, Khaled, we have deals with founders that start over a cup of coffee. Yeah. You know, that we weren't even there to discuss this, right? Yeah. And I think I think we need to change the perception from the founder VC relationship to, I need money, I will give you money, to actually be about building those relationships. That's what I've learned. What's been your experience? What's your take?
I agree. It is a lot of the times it's, yeah, if I look back at the times we've raised, most of the conversations, the successful ones, started from like nothing or randomness. Some of them even started from a no, where they were like, actually, this is not interesting to us. And I was like, cool, that's out of the way. Now I can actually have a relationship with you and tell you more about what you're doing over time, of course. But yeah, the times where it was super transactional, where like, hey, we want to invest. We say, okay, cool, we'll take it. Term sheets come through. It's rare. It's rare for it to work that way. And I think it's because it's a very, like, VC investing is not a science. You can add math to it, but like predicting that successful outcome is, I think, part emotional, part chance.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Again, as a founder, I don't know. I've not been in VC for like more than 4 years now. But from the founder's perspective, it's a very tricky one, because you're trying to understand who this person is, and that's a big factor of if you'll invest or not. And then there's so many things that need to work out: market, pricing, customers, tech, all of this stuff. It's a really difficult piece of math to do, early stage investing. It is a big relationship game, and not relationship as in like, hey, I'm going to take you out to coffees and buy you lunches.
Yeah. It's not whining and dining.
Yeah, it's not whining and dining. It's more sharing the wins, sharing the losses, and still sticking around, still showing up. So many times there's like things like events I don't want to go to. But yeah, you just got to be there and you got to show face. So it's little things like that. It's just showing up, showing that, yeah, you're still in the fight. You're still like, you're still trying to win.
Yeah.
And then eventually all of it adds up and people get it that, oh, hey, like these guys have been like really pushing. Because most people give up, and that's when you need to stick around. Yeah. When it's hard. So it's a lot of that, and being able to then position that as a part of your story is what at least the successful founders that I study and I look at are able to do really well. They don't shy away from a loss, or they don't shy away from something that didn't go well. They double down and they talk about it, and they still show up. Wherein a normal person, by normal I mean like a non-entrepreneurial person, would just like go into a bit of a closed shell. Yeah. Like, oh no, I feel embarrassment over this. The sort of ones who are still moving have figured out that it's a part of the whole process. It's not the end of it. And I think if you're able to convey that in your own way, there's, again, no model to it. You can't send like 15 emails and like hack this. That's when it really clicks. Yeah. So you gotta figure that out. And it takes some time to figure that out.
It does, and I think it's not surprising to me that the ones who double down on the failure are the ones that have been the most successful, in the sense of, because even when because you touched on this also in that podcast, that you need to also convey the story, right? And what makes a good story? If my story is just, I won, it's a boring story. Yeah. Everyone loves a comeback story. Everyone loves that hero arc of like, oh, I was, excitement, got fucked up, went back up. You know, that is what makes a story interesting. But you also need to, I've learned, communication is one of the most undervalued skills you need as a founder.
Yeah.
You know, to your point, you were talking about, you know, pitching. If you get a chance to pitch, just keep pitching and just practice it, you know, and keep refining it. Even myself, it took me, for this podcast, I'd say I've been doing it for 5 years. This year is when everything clicked.
Yeah.
Because people would ask me like, "What's your podcast about?" And I'd be like, "You know, I just want to learn, you know." Blah, blah, blah. But I could see in their eyes they didn't get it. You know, they're like, "Cool," but like whatever.
Yeah.
And even with the business and how the positioning of it, who I help, what I work, you know, who I work with, what I can do, it's a constant evolution. But it took all that adjustment, twist, whatever, to get my, you know, sexy, clean elevator pitch, you know, down. So I know from your experience, you said you used to be quite shy, you know, back in the uni days. So how has this communication, I guess, skill development been for you? And could you share maybe a story of when you spoke to a VC before you like got into that next stage or someone, it didn't work out, and then you realize, oh, now with these changes, this is why this one worked out?
Yeah. I was very reserved, I think, in high school and uni, until like a professor pointed out that this is the last, I think it was like the last 2 semesters. And she was like, yeah, these are the last 2 semesters where there's nothing at risk. And that really stuck with me, because she was like, yeah, once you graduate, you will always be presenting or you'll always be speaking for something. Money,
that's a
deal,
good point. Yeah, I never
job.
thought of that. Yeah.
But for these last 2 semesters, it doesn't matter. What's the worst that'll happen? You'll get a bad grade. Like, there's no risk, right? And that's when I was like, yeah, okay. Like, I just need to get on stage or in front of people and try. And that's when it really, that was the inflection point for trying to build better communication skills. From there, then I think as a founder, you're just forced to. You don't have an option. Because for like a big chunk of the time, you are the only one with the full story, with the full vision, with the full view of what you're doing and what you want to do and what it can look like. So there's really no other way to communicate that. So you have to get good at it. And I think it is a key skill. Like, there's founders who have like really good marketing skills, founders who have really good engineering skills, founders who have really good sales skills. But I think a common point, if you look at successful founders, they all have really good communication skills, because it's a piece of it's a skill that you need when you're hiring people, when you're building teams, when you're selling to customers, when you're selling to investors. So it really becomes like your only high leverage item in your sort of utility belt as a founder. So I think it is like the critical skill, because if you got that one, you can solve for all of the others, right?
100%.
You can communicate your vision well. You can tell your engineers what you need to build. You can communicate your product well. You can tell what your customers are buying, understand their problems, so on and so forth. So,
and it's also, to your point, just building on what you're talking about, it's a two-way street though. You know, like as a founder, yes, you need these skills, but communication, what I've learned this year is that it's like a life skill. Because even, let's say I'm a founder, I go sit with a VC. If I can communicate my vision well, but you can't communicate how you can help me, what if I have the next, $1 billion, $2 billion idea, but you didn't communicate yourself properly, so now, I don't want to work with you. It's so important.
Yeah, it's tricky. Like as I guess, as a sort of as people, it's so overlooked. I don't think there's ever a point in your life where 100% of what I'm saying is being received at 100%. Like even with your partner, right? Like when I speak to my girlfriend sometimes, it's probably the highest. It's like 95%.
Yeah.
And you still have disagreements.
100%.
You still have misunderstandings.
For sure.
It's just that you care about the person enough, so you'll like double down and like sort it out. Now imagine a random person you're meeting at a coffee shop. They're probably understanding maybe 20% of what you're trying to communicate.
That's a good point.
You just don't care, though. You don't double down and like try to solve it. It's like, okay, whatever, move on with my day. But yeah, it really amazes me at how bad human beings are at communicating.
Yeah.
Or like how inefficient of a process this is.
Yeah.
If you speak as an engineer. I think it's rarely like 50%.
Yeah.
So you really have to like simplify what you're trying to say. And for a long time, I attached my self-worth to it. I was like, oh, if I'm building a complicated business, that means I am whatever, a smart founder. And over time, all I've done is like chip away at that notion to a point where it's like, okay, all we do is we're just building an AI accountant, right? We started with like a super complex pitch, and you just have to chip it down until you can see the person go like, oh yeah, I get it.
Once you see someone, like you said, once you say, oh, I got that, you're like, oh, okay, I think I figured that out now. Yeah.
And you just have to iterate, man. Like just talk to random
100%.
people. Like, talk to people in the lift. That's my hack.
Yeah, that's actually a very good hack, you know. And I think, you know, the point you mentioned about I love the example, like how many times in your life have you been speaking and the other person didn't get it? Probably, you know, when you reflect back, probably 10 million stories, you know, come to your mind. I think in a business context, it's probably easier to remember because there was a specific outcome that was trying to happen as a result of that, closing a deal, getting a raise, you know, whatever the case might be. But also what I've learned is communication it's not just about how you speak, it's how you think. And so I've been working, you know, I've mentioned this on the podcast many times. I have a communication coach that I've been working with for the last 3-4 months. And I learned it's not about how you're speaking, it's about how you think, how that communication flow works in your head that you built up your whole life. And you have to kind of take a step back and be like, okay. Yeah. It takes work because you have to now be intentional about, okay, let me build it in this way, and before it becomes something natural to you. Did you find that as a similar experience on your side as well?
Yeah, 100%. I didn't know that was a thing, by the way. I didn't know you could get a communication coach.
Yeah,
man, that's a very high outcome driving person to have on your side.
I agree.
I think as a founder, I used to say this a lot. I still I believe in it. Have you seen the show Billions?
Yes. Yeah. When we were talking about the investments and stuff, that's the first show that came to my mind. Yeah.
In this show, there's these high performing traders, but there's one person in the team who's a mental performance coach. And each time these traders are like having a shift in their performance, they go have a chat with her. And she's able to unlock whatever this mental block is. And I think founders, or as me as a founder, speaking personally, I think that's super valuable in your early days, almost enough to like for them to be one of the, I don't know, it's not a full-time employee type of situation because like you don't need it that often. But I think a communications coach could be a part of that arsenal that you've got. Someone needs to make this, man. Like as a founder, I would 100% pay for like a communications coach, a mental performance coach, which is, I don't want to call them a therapist because you're not sorting out your emotions, but unblocking things so you can go perform. But yeah, absolutely, that would be critical.
Yeah, man, and she's really also helped me in my positioning as well. You know, it's kind of like she told me, Shahar, you're doing all these different things. You know, you have the podcast, you have the business, you have the MC speaking stuff you got. But so it's like you're doing a lot. So you're communicating a lot, but it's all like scattered, right? It's not all driving towards one specific thing, you know? And one of the big takeaways I've had from her is, and I think this is important for especially for founders, is AJ equals what? Is AJ the VC guy? Is AJ the founder? Is AJ the guy the business owner that can help me solve my problems? You know, you need to communicate what you want people to think about you. Or what you want to be recognized for. So there's the communication side of the internal stuff of how you do it, how you think, whatever. And then there's the external, okay, like how do I now position myself where I want people to, in the way that I want people to think about me. Yeah. And I think that is a big unlock that a lot of people don't think about.
I agree. I think you just get so buried, like,
you do, man.
Yeah, business, I know. Like, I have to do this, and you have very little intentional time that's left over. And it's just about finding that intentional space where, like, wait, this is not what I need to be doing. I need to zoom out and figure out. There's someone on my team who like keeps pushing back. So I'm very like involved in, like, I see it as a part of my identity where I want to build things like hands-on. And that's my founder role. Yeah. And now we're transitioning to a point where like the business really needs more of a CEO and less of a founder, because we've got resources to like hire good people, hire really smart people. And I'm in that phase where I'm trying to like let go as much as I can.
It's
of
hard.
Being it's hard.
Yeah.
Because it's like if I'm not building, who am I? Right? Yeah. And then I'll have days now where all I've done is like calls, meetings, and like conversations. And then I'll come back into the office and I'm just like, I feel like I've done no work, right? But it is high leverage work, but you don't realize it because it's not like behind a computer or in pen and paper.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tricky. It's
and I'm happy, but I think this is a very important point to discuss is shifting from founder to CEO. Now, from an outsider's perspective, you would think that the founder, of course, would be the CEO. But what we, as we were talking before, and as you just mentioned, it seems like there's a mindset shift that needs to happen. So if you were to like make that distinction between being the founder and the CEO, is it down to not from being someone who does everything to now doing the only super high leverage task? Is like, what's the mindset shift that you've had to make now as you're entering this new phase of the business and growth of the business?
Yeah, I think being a founder is being able to get a lot done without resources, and still delivering like really high quality, high performance work. Being a CEO is trying to multiply that with resources. So if you as a one person operator can output maybe 2-3x the work, as a CEO you need to understand that, okay, now if you have 10 people, how are you going to output 10x or 20x? So it's the same thing at a very high level, but if you go deeper into it, you can't do it with the same mindset. Because to do it with yourself, it's easy, right? You're ambitious, you want to perform, and you know what your limits are. To do it, to empower other people to do it is difficult, because it starts all the way from your first interview to how you spoke with this individual a minute ago, right? To your last sentence you've said to them. So that's where like communication skills become important. You need to understand what their goals are, their motivations are, and how you can align that with the goals of the company. And then you got to do that with 10, 20, 30, 40 of your best people. And then as you grow further, then the 40 have to do with their 10, and it's a big pyramid that you build.
Exactly, yeah.
And then as a CEO, because this is a very time intensive task, there's no human way to then go back to your desk and like do 3 hours of like writing code or focus work. So you have to pick. You can't do both. I think it's very hard to do both. There's a really cool article about makers and managers, and I think a founder and a CEO shift is all about that. As a founder, you are a maker. You're crafting strategy, you're crafting code or like visuals or whatever, and this takes 4 or 5 hours of blocked out time. You can't do this in like 30 minutes. The output will be garbage. As a manager, you only do 30-minute blocks, right? Meeting 1, meeting 2, client meeting 1, sales meeting 1, investor meeting 1, and done with my day. And there's a big disconnect because a lot of people try to do both in the same day. You can't have half a day as a manager and half a day as a maker.
That's a great point.
Yeah. So you gotta just pick your days. That's what I do right now.
Okay.
So today is my maker day.
Okay.
Today is not my manager day.
Okay.
So before coming in, I logged into a couple of tasks, got those done. No meetings, no calls. I've got this, and then I'm gonna go back and like I've got a few sort of PRDs to write and like figure out the scope of work for a new client, etc. But it's mostly that. I know tomorrow or Friday is a good example. Friday is just calls.
Okay.
Right? You just go get on calls.
You've said that. Yeah. Said it like that. Okay.
Yeah. And eventually over time, I think it will just become all CEO work. I won't have founder work left to do.
Yeah.
But once in a while, I don't know. I'm not at that stage yet, but people say that, okay, so at some point you need to switch back to being a founder because the business needs it from time to time. But yeah, that's how I see this whole thing evolve. And you can't be stuck. Like, I know founders who, like Dyson, the company Dyson is a great example. So James Dyson came up with everything. He's the sort of founder, but he's not the CEO of the company. He does the critical aspects of the product and the design and how it should function and the demos. And you can see how passionate he is about their product when he does a demo. But I was really surprised to find out that he's not the CEO. So he's not the one doing a lot of the business stuff, all of the sort of finding the margins and finding all of that stuff. So it does work, and like you gotta again find what works for you, I think. But yeah, it is an interesting one to solve.
Yeah,
and you gotta be intentional about it.
Yeah, 100%. And I can imagine that the frustration like these growing pains you're going through right now, making the switch from a founder to a CEO, because more than anything, besides not just your own perception of the worth of my output, like you mentioned, if I didn't, it took you time to be like, oh, I didn't code today, therefore I did nothing today. I was just on calls and meetings, but that's actually more important. Like now it's more important than doing that. And I like that you have different days that you go, flip between the two. Like you said, eventually as you continue to grow, it will just become CEO work. But the CEO work thing, the biggest problem with it is, fuck the investors, fuck this, fuck that. You have to manage people, bro. Yeah. People are the most unpredictable fucks in the world, and every single person is different. Every person has a different motivation. Every person needs this, needs that. Like, because it's interesting hearing the phase you're in right now. So I've always debated, as I told you at the beginning of the conversation, I always wanted to do my own thing. I didn't necessarily want to build a company. I've learned though, there's benefits and drawbacks to it. Yeah. Now, obviously, if you have more resources, you have more leverage, you can deliver more, bigger, there's a lot. And then you're not just selling your time, right? So your multiplier could be a lot bigger. Mm-hmm. But the drawback of that is that now you have salaries to pay. You have, investors that you need to, make sure that things are going the right way. Like you have a lot of different responsibilities, right? Yeah. And in my case, I've been going back and forth with this in my head. And this is the answer I'm giving you now. In a year, we might have a conversation. You'll be like, I can't remember what you said. Yeah, well, I have, at least where I am, as I can say of now, I still enjoy, because I can still I'm still at a stage I can do everything without anyone. Yeah. So that's why maybe I haven't hit where you're at where you're at yet. But at the same time, it is my time. Yeah. So there's a limit on, my leverage of how much I can do, because you have 24 hours in the day. Yeah. It's depending on how much I do is how much I'm going to get, right? But I do I've realized what I love about it being like this is the freedom I have and the autonomy I have in the sense someone can call me out of the blue tomorrow, Khaled, come work on this project. I can go do it. There's nothing holding me back, So there's no right or wrong. It's like, and I think you said it at the end there, very important, is what works for you, what's aligned with your personality, and where are you? Yeah. Maybe in 6 months' time, I'll have too much work that I'm like, I can't do this alone anymore. Yeah. And once we get to that stage, that's a good problem to have, right? That's not too bad. So we've touched on I'm happy we dove deep into the founder aspect. It's something I love talking about because, I love getting founders' perspectives on different things and so on. I want to bring the conversation now into Crossval and the finance space and whatever. So I wanted to start here before we get into Crossval, because I think this is important. I know with Crossval, you talked about launching an academy, and you said something very interesting. Like, there's no easy way to learn finance. Now, I have a finance major, right? Mm-hmm. And I still know fuck all about finance. You know what I'm saying? Having that degree did not make me what you would call financially literate. Yeah. So I'm curious from your perspective, two things. Why do you believe why is finance hard to learn? And two, what does financial literacy mean to you? Because this is a question people are like, financial literacy, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but what the fuck does that mean? Yeah. What's your take?
Finance is difficult to learn because it's gatekept.
You think so?
Yeah, it's super gatekept.
Okay.
I don't think, of course, ultra niche aspects of finance, yes, super complex. I'm not saying everyone can go be a operate like a M&A person with 20 years of experience. No, of course not. But simple personal finance is, I think, okay, that's unfair to say that it's gate capped. It's maybe 50% gate capped and 50% boring to talk
Fair.
about.
Okay, fair.
Like,
Fair.
the people also don't want to do it. I'm not saying that, oh, yeah, everyone wants to be on top of their finances. So that's unfair. Yeah, so it naturally created a divide of people who are super into it and people who don't care.
Okay.
And there's no one in the middle who's like, actually, this is an important part of my life, right?
That's a very good point, actually.
It's like anything, it's like fitness, right? There's people who are like, well, I'll work out like 3 times a day, and there's like, man, I don't care.
Yeah.
You are, yeah, I mean, I was speaking to my partner about this, and she was like, yeah, like, anytime you eat a salad, someone's like, oh, you're a health freak. Like, no, I'm just eating a salad.
Yeah.
You can be in between, right?
Yeah.
Like you can be a normal person who eats a salad because that's good for you and works out. But no, we as society, we love
live in a world of extremes, right? 1-0, right?
Yeah. If you work out, you're a health freak. And if you don't work out, like, where in reality, that shouldn't be the case. You should just be a normal person who, like, takes care of themselves and has a salad from time to time and works out, gets their protein and whatever. And it's the same with finance, right? And I think we just there's no, like, whoop or, like, cool way to do your finances yet. I'm sure it'll change.
That's
hopefully.
a great analogy. Yeah.
But yeah, if someone makes, like, I don't know, something that gives you, so why is Whoop successful, right? Like, now it's cool to be healthy. I want to get one. I was thinking of it this morning. It's cool to be healthy. It's cool to take care of your health now. And now people want to do it because it's cool. They don't care about the health. It's so funny to me.
Yeah.
But it's the same with, like, managing your money as a person, as a business. It's just not cool. It's boring. No one wants to look at how much money they've got for whatever reason. And it's just not a fun experience. So it becomes, again, a personal development thing as opposed to a finance thing, similar to working out. So that's probably the biggest blocker.
Okay.
And then the second layer to it, it is a little gate cap. It's again, like fitness. To be a generally fit person, you don't need, like, a PhD in human sciences.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you just go to the gym. It's the same with money. Like, just invest a bit, save a bit, spend a bit. That's the basics. But yeah, there's no structure around it. No one wants to do it. It's difficult to do it emotionally. And what has happened over the years is now, why don't you pay us some money? We will certify you as a CFA or as an ACCA or as an MBA, and then you can go to the other side of the spectrum and tell them, hey, I have a CFA. I can help you manage your money. And now you're willing to pay this person because they're taking a pain point away. It's a lot easier to just, like, come to the middle, get resources, maybe, I don't know, learn from YouTube or influencers or whatever, get a book and just do it yourself. And we realize it's the same case with a lot of the users that we have on Crossval have an in-house accountant that is using our tech to make their lives easier. Now, this accountant and the CEO or the founder or the partners of the company have a very high trust relationship. Right? A lot of times these guys have, like, access to the bank accounts and things. But they have no way to upskill themselves because they're stuck. Oh, not stuck, but they're doing their day-to-day job and they got to keep doing it. And they don't have sort of the capital put aside to go get an MBA or go to an Ivy League or even a CFA, right? Because it's all gate capped behind a price point. And after even you go and do a CFA, now you have to learn how to sell that CFA to a client. You don't get to use that knowledge, right? You're no longer in the business So that's really why we built Crossval Academy, to help and empower these accountants learn sort of these. It's not on the personal finance side, it's mostly on the business finance side. But now they understand that, okay, my job is not just to, like, book invoices or make entries. My job is actually to think about money like an entrepreneur would.
Yeah.
And the accountants that went through Crossval Academy, were able to either get promoted in their existing roles because they had the trust to begin with. They just didn't have the little bit of a knowledge unlock that they needed to make.
There's an education gap there.
Yeah. And it's difficult, like with the sea of information that's out there. What do you even start with?
That's true.
So that was our motivation behind building that, and it helped a lot of accountants. We just made the whole thing free. I was like, who cares? Like this knowledge should be free. Just needs some structure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the motivation behind doing that, and it worked out really nicely. We're now like coming out with the second version of it, so it's going to be exciting based on our learnings from the first one. It's going to be a bit more gamified, a bit more welcoming, a bit more sort of fun, as opposed to just, hey, here's things you need to know. But yeah, that was why we did it. Yeah, because it's so common, man. Like, so many companies here have accountants that they would trust with their lives, but if the accountants had just a little bit of extra, it would change their lives too.
Yeah.
When I was in university, we used to do this thing where on weekends we'd go to labor camps and we'd help the workers learn English.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and that was fun. But one of the guys, there were two distinct stories. One was a young person who was like, hey, I want to get promoted. So and to be a supervisor, I have to know English because the managers speak only English. And he would like regularly attend the classes, and we'd like help him with all sorts of construction lingo. And then the second fun one was, there was an old man who was like, hey, I have a granddaughter who doesn't speak my native language anymore because like they live somewhere else. And I want to speak to her in English, so I want to learn. And I think that's where like the seed of this whole thing started, where it's people who just need sort of a little bit of a structure to get onto it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the background of Crossval Academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but I think I never had a answer to my question of, why is finance hard but when you said it, I'm like, that's actually exactly the thing. It's either this or that, and it's extremes. Either you're super invested or you don't want to know anything. And I think what you've done with Crossval Academy, which is awesome, man. First of all, it's congrats for it's very nice to to help people. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to do this whole podcast. I'm hoping people listen to our conversation today and they'll walk away with something. So and the leverage of that, not only from on a personal level, it's very fulfilling, but also on your credibility of what you as a person, what you do as a business. It doesn't always, I don't think it always has to be financially driven. Sometimes you just do it to do it, and I like how you brought the Whoop example into it, and this I'm happy you brought up the Whoop example actually, because when I got my Whoop, just a word of warning. Yeah. At the beginning, I've heard this story so many times. At the beginning, you are going to look at these numbers obsessed. Yeah. Sometimes, and then that causes people to hate it sometimes, by the way, and they're like, I don't want to know. Some people get like super into it and they're like, okay, optimize. Yeah. To me, I've been the obsessed guy, I've been the I don't give a shit guy, and now kind of balance out. For me, I look at it, I'm like, this is just a cool FYI tool. Yeah. And it does with time, you do learn more about yourself. Like I know if I eat a heavy meal 2 hours before I sleep, my recovery is going to be shit even if I sleep for 7 hours. Or if I drink alcohol and I see that 1% the next day when we were at a wedding a few weeks ago. And because I've seen the red thousands of times, I'm like, man, I don't want to see it. I know tomorrow's going to be shit. Like, I don't need more reinforcement of that. But this kind of brings me on to tracking. So one of the big things that Crossval started, from my understanding, as from your experience, working with VCs, like you said, spending 12, 13 hours on a spreadsheet, and, people are spending... I know you mentioned there was a client that you were working with that was spending 600 hours a month. Their teams were spending on just fucking spreadsheets, and you could solve that in it was 5 minutes now and whatever. So you saw the need, and you saw that there was you felt the frustration and pain yourself, right? But before we get into Crossval and how the company started and has evolved, tracking. Tracking is actually something, when you mentioned that, I'm like, AJ makes a really good point, because... And it's, even when it comes to your business, we don't track a lot of people, especially founders, don't track very well. And it's not just, I was thinking about it, he's not only in business, also personal. You touched on it earlier, personal finances, Yeah. And you touched on now, I think the reasons why are different. I don't know, but I'm curious to get like your thoughts. Personal finances, you know, I've spoken to people who are like, because people don't want to know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to know like that I only have, you know, a couple of dirhams left in my account. I don't want to deal with that bullshit anxiety. I'll just live, you know, in ignorance until there's a problem.
Yeah.
And so that's on the personal side. I understand the struggle there. But on the business side, I see two issues with it. Number one is, because when you're a founder or when you're first starting out, the finances are not what you care about. You just care about getting the client, you know. It's only after time that you start thinking about, okay, now I've got 2-3 clients and I have to figure out how much time am I spending on this. But that's when it comes in. But also on that is, I don't know where to start, you know. I'm talking from a founder's perspective. So I'm curious from your experience, and you know, because the tracking was, I guess, that concept was the genesis of what Crossval, you know, became and has evolved to be. What's your take on that? Why don't we like to track?
Because it forces you to face the reality. In your heads, in our heads, we have this bit of a fantasy land that we live in. But in reality, our actions don't always add up or match up. And when you start tracking, you have to, like you said, right? The next day at the wedding, you're like, I don't need to know this reality. And I lived that life, right? Like for 2.5 years, I was training for triathlons, and I had a Garmin on, and I would like sleep with it, and like my HRV and all of this. And then it got to a point where I like ditched the watch and went through the dip where like I don't care about any of these. And now I'm on the other half where I'm like, okay, maybe I need to get back into it and use it as like a cool, like what you just described, what you're sort of currently living. Where like, okay, it's to guide me, but it's not going to get in the way of a fun night out with my friends or a wedding or any of these things. So it's a lot to do with our identity.
Identity.
And if you can make your identity as someone who is non-extreme,
in the middle, so to speak, to use your point.
Which is really difficult because everyone's trying to sell you identity now, right? If you go to Instagram, every brand is selling you an identity hey, Khaled, you're a fit person. You have to have a Whoop. Are you even into fitness if you don't have a Whoop? It's that. It's my shoes, right? I buy Ons.
Ons are the fuck. I'm not wearing them now, but they're the fucking. If you want to sponsor the podcast, please. I'm obsessed. They're comfy, right?
I fucking love them. But there's a second layer to it where like you don't want to be the guy who wears like Nike or Adidas, or you want to be like the other person, and that's why you wear Ons, right? It's the same thing, man. Like people have a certain identity in their heads, and they will. Me included, of course, I'm not like judging.
Of course, all of us.
We will only do the stuff that's like easily appealing to that identity. But when it crosses a certain threshold where like I have to review my finances every month to be seen as someone who's financially healthy, do I care about this? No, it's okay. Like maybe once in 2 months, maybe once in 3 months, I'll see. So forming that identity is key. And I think we live with a perceived identity, and then there's a real identity, and we love to ignore the real one. It's okay. Like I'll just live with the perceived one. Because it's just easier. Right? Like you're doing so much in your day, and like it's difficult to like keep everything on track a lot of times. But I think if everyone just gravitates towards the middle, it will make it easier. Where okay, I'm not, a crazy like investment guru, but at the same time I'm not like living in debt or like just spending all my money on not intelligent expenses. You can have fun. You can like have a new iPhone every 6 months. You can also be someone who cares about like ETFs and the markets and understands that side, and you can be in the middle. And I think just being in the middle is so hard, man, because the investment guys want you on that side, and then like the iPhone guys want you on that side. So it's just about balancing. I think that's why it's hard.
I understand. So on the by the way, I think you said it perfectly that you have to face it's facing reality, and but I never looked at I never looked at it from an identity perspective, but you're so right. You know, especially now, everything's pushing you to that 1 and 0. You're either this identity or that. You cannot be, you know, in the middle. So on the and so I had a finance professor on my podcast, and we were talking about this and why people don't track on a personal finance side. She's like, the problem is if you don't track, you can't, you have no direction.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know how, if you want to go from where you are to the next, how are you going to do that? You don't know where your money's going. And a lot of times on the personal finance side, there's always I've learned at least a blind spot of spending that you don't, it's not because it's inconsistent and infrequent that you don't feel. But once you sit down and put it into like a sheet, you're like, oh shit, I'm putting this much on. There's such a big, like, there's a gap somewhere.
Yeah.
So that's the personal side. Now, on the business side, why? Because from your experience, there was a lot of businesses that weren't even tracking things. So on the business side is where my head gets lost a little bit. Like, why wouldn't you track that?
Yeah, it is a tricky one. Like, we have a lot of our users who are like obsessed. They're like, I need this metric, I need that metric, I need that metric.
You guys are a B2B platform,
yeah,
right?
We're purely B2B. We only work with businesses. And then we've got clients who sort of like to wing it. And then we've got clients who like almost are like, yeah, I'll update it once a month because that's what the government needs me to do. And then when tax season comes around, I'll go and do the taxes side. And I think the only sort of data point we found is it depends on the industry. If you're operating a business where the margins are pretty high, you're a little more chill. And if you're operating a business where margins are super tight, then it's a little like, oh, I need to obsess. And I think the big, from a product perspective, what we are able to do now, which is changing this whole game, is we have an insights engine built in. So similar to how your Whoop tells you how much trade and recovery you've got, on a weekly basis, Crossval is able to send you, hey, you spent X amount on coffees with clients last month or last week. You spent X amount on rent last month, but most of your industry peers spend 10% less. So maybe you need to rethink what your renting situation is. This client always pays on time, but client B is always 60 days late. Maybe you give client B a 10% discount, ask them to pay upfront or ask them to pay within the next 10 days and improve that relationship, or just price this delay into your contracts. And we're seeing these insights are making it a lot more real time. Finance traditionally has been a month-end exercise.
It's reflective.
It's reflective. That's a really good way to put it. And that's primarily because of the way accounting works and the way accounting tools are built. Nothing is real time, and like there's nothing you can do with the information. If I tell you what your, I think one of the cool things Whoop does is it tells you your predicted required sleep.
Yes. Yep.
Which is creating a data point for you where, tomorrow I need to be in order because I have 2 days of sleep debt that I need to resolve. Yeah. And there's no such metrics in finance, right? Yeah, if I tell you, true. Hey, Khalid, all of last month you didn't sleep well, you don't care. Like, yeah, it's fine. Oh, yeah. Like, you'll make a mental note that, yeah, last month I didn't sleep well, but you have no incentive to make it better in the moment. And in the same way, we're trying to do this with B2B finances. And I think that's really changing the way people interact with their business money. But yeah, the reason they don't track is because there's no use, like, of reflecting. It's just pain, right? Yeah. A lot of times it's like, hey, Khalid, your business spent, 30,000 dirhams on this lead that didn't convert. Yeah. And you're like, I don't want to know that. I know there's something in that. So it's about the delay in information that exists right now. Yeah. If you can make it real time, then it's a lot more useful and
it gives you that agility too.
Actionable.
Yeah, exactly. Actionable. That's the word.
You can do something about it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Whereas a month-end review, you can do nothing. Yeah. Right?
So how do you address the So if I think it's a fantastic idea. Build that insight engine is, and you made such a great point that everything typically is reflective, not in real time. So you don't know until it's too late. Maybe you could have changed something before that could have had a completely different outcome. I'm just trying to understand because Whoop, I love that we're talking about, I love the Whoop example because it's very relevant to this.
Yeah.
This works well because there's zero effort on my part,
Yeah.
right? It's tracking everything. I don't need to input anything, whatever.
Yeah.
Now in your model, my question is how, because unless there's a way to be capturing all these your engine can capture all these different data points without me having to physically input it.
Mm-hmm.
To get those insight engines, I think it would be there's still a bit of a bottleneck because I still need the person to put this in for me to give you these upfront insights. So how do you, I guess, manage that?
So we've skipped that layer now.
Okay.
You can automate it entirely end to end.
Okay.
So you can connect your bank, you can connect your payment tools. You can
there you go.
Everything,
Exactly. There you go. Yeah.
That
Fantastic.
Way. Or you can link the whole thing to your WhatsApp and just ask questions on WhatsApp. So my Crossval account's linked to my phone. And anytime I have a question, I just go into my chat. I'm like, hey, what's going on here? What's going on there? How do I do this?
That's fucking fantastic.
Yeah.
Man.
So I never even have to pull out my computer, right?
Well done, man. Really, that's fucking cool. That's awesome. Yeah.
So we're trying to kill friction, and I think everyone's got it. Like every business should have like a WhatsApp angle, because it's making such a big difference. Like we're seeing so many users who would like average session times were like 15 minutes a day, and now they're hooked. Like they're chatting with this WhatsApp bot for 15 minutes alone without even opening Crossval, right? Because they're so intrigued by all the information that's at their fingertips, because now they don't have to like call their accountant. And
you're going to where I naturally communicate. So you're not adding another leverage thing. It's this is where I talk anyway.
Precisely. And it's not a painful exercise where you call the accountant, the accountant's like, okay, give me 2 days, I'll prepare. And then 2 days later, the accountant's like, yeah, we have 300 transactions and our EBITDA was 20% lower. Than I was like, this is just a mental overload. But with the age of AI, the AI can like really simplify things for you, right? You can just be like, what is EBITDA? Just tell me, like, tell it to me like an old school businessman. Like, is it the money left over? Is it the money that I own? But yeah, that's another sort of making it real time, making it accessible to where you already interact has also been a game changer for us.
Dude, that thing is. If I was thinking of that, I'm sure there are platforms now that do this, but for a personal personal finance. But the first thing I went to in my head, I'm like, if AJ has this tool built, from me, even personally, from a personal finance perspective, would be so useful to do. But I guess I think from a competition perspective, it makes more sense to focus on B2B because I think it's a bigger pain point there and a higher leverage for you guys in what your investment and your time and what you're building. I guess that's why you've gone down the B2B route. That'd be my opinion.
Absolutely. I think they're completely different businesses, B2C and B2B. B2B, you get, like, we have a big advantage right now that the government's pushing VAT, corporate tax. You need 5 years of books to be done. There's that external pressure. At a B2C level, that doesn't exist. So you can't really leverage that. There's no way for me to make sure you're doing your finances as an individual, because that's a vitamin, right? You'll be a better person if you do it, but you're not gonna cease to exist.
It's a great way to put it, a vitamin, yeah.
But for a business, it's a painkiller. You will get in trouble, right, if you don't do it. So that's the wave we want to ride. B2C is super exciting. So when I was in uni, there's this app called You Need a Budget.
Okay.
And I remember this app because it was free for students. And I loved it because this is probably one of the reasons I have sort of interest in finance. I went to my parents and asked for pocket money, right? And my dad was like, yeah, cool, whatever, like, just tell me the amount. And I went with him with like some ridiculous number, thinking I'm gonna game the system. Because my best friend, his dad just gave him a credit. I don't know if he gave him a credit card or just gave him like whatever you need, right? Just like no limits. My mom was like, wait a second, you come to us with the things you need to spend on, and then we'll see where it goes. I'm like, come on. Dad was good with it, right? But yeah, as a 17-year-old, I had to then sit down and make a list of like, okay, I want to eat out, then I want to go out with my friends, and then I need like money for this metro thing, and then this bus, and like in Dubai, like it's it's tricky, right? Because there's no way to get around. Like you can't walk to places. You have to figure out some sort of transport. So I had to literally create a line by line budget, take it to my mom, and then she cut out like half of it.
Yeah, I'm sure. You don't need this shit.
Yeah.
You got here.
Eat at home.
Yeah, exactly. Learn how to cook. Don't worry.
Well, yeah, I got on this app, and that was sort of my first exposure to. And then I used that app for 4 years, where like money was like pocket money was my only source. And then as soon as I started making money, I was like, I don't need an app. I'll do it in my head.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, B2C is so hard, man. Like changing that behavior of an individual. You might be able to do it for a month, and then 1 month you like do something wrong, and then you drop the whole thing, and then like it takes 6 months to come back.
Yeah.
So B2C businesses are really difficult. Like, that's why we didn't go down that route. But
likewise, I went through a similar experience with with my business with the podcasting agency, in the sense of at the beginning it was more individuals, helping them set up podcasts, but then not only is it I think you hit the nail on the head right there, where I need to change your behavior, and that's fucking hard to do. That's what all these companies, marketing, there's a whole science behind it. You need 8 touch points over 10 months, and to change someone's behavior, it's very difficult, and it's a very personal thing, and there's so many other things to influence. When it's business is different, because it's pure cold hard number facts. That's what this is used for. Now you touched on, I know at the beginning, and so the podcast I watched was a year ago, so I know things are very different now. But what was interesting to me is that it initially was built as the majority of the tool was for founders, not for large corporates, right? Yes. Now I know you've got a lot of large corporates on board, like I think Okafu, I know Uniphonic, I believe as well, and Uniphonic's also the accelerator you were a part of too. So it was, from my perspective, it was interesting. I'm like, because we were just talking right now about ROI and leverage, right? Now, you said at the time it was very founder focused, because approvals were quick, sometimes speaking directly to the guy that will make that decision. So you can get things moving faster. It's probably going to be lower ticket, right? Especially, because founders don't have the resource, especially the early days. And then now when you're working with large enterprise corporates and stuff, much longer deal cycles, a lot more expectation, a lot more stakeholders that you need to buy into to doing this. So, because I've had to make this decision myself too, I'm like, in my case, for example, I decided, I'm like, you know what, founders are not my market. They're just just not. They don't have the time, the resources, or they don't. They have higher priorities on their list than, for example, launching their own podcast.
Yes.
But a business that is established, you guys have got all these things, you've got marketing budgets, whatever, that's where it makes more sense. So that's why I focus on B2B as well. But when you go through B2B, you do go through all the challenges that I was just mentioning. So walk us through, I guess, this last year of like this arc of, shifting from founder-led, founder-focused to now working with enterprises. Because I think it's very important for people to understand what that journey looks like and what are the benefits and drawbacks that come with it.
Yeah, I think we started with founders and early stage companies because we wanted to build around users. It gave us access to the problem firsthand. We could build a product that people actually wanted and solved a real problem. And that has to be with early stage businesses, because they're the ones who feel a lot of the pains in an amplified manner, right? An early stage business that didn't do their books or didn't file their VAT gets hit with a 10,000 dirham fine. That is like super significant for like the first year of a lot of business owners. They're like, oh crap, like this is a new extra expense. For a larger company, it's just a part of the budget, right? So these are the best people to build around, because they'll be honest and complain about the pains, because they don't have the money to throw at it. They can only share it with you and hope that your tech takes it away. We did that, and that built sort of the foundations of the product. Made it robust, tested it, made sure there are no issues. And then we started switching to slightly larger conversations. Some of those early users grew, so their companies became larger. and those became great reference points as well. But it takes some time to unlock the larger segments, especially with technology, because the adoption cycles are completely different for a larger company. For a larger company, you have to have been around for like 3 years. You have to have a local presence. You have to, again, a lot of the boxes that we tick, but then you also need to sell to larger corporates in a different way. A CFO is not like a founder where, it's a quick one-call decision. The CFO needs to get approval, needs to make sure his team is trained on it, so on and so forth. So that was baked into the journey as we went. And I think we were able to do it quite organically to a point where now we have individual teams that deal with the large corporate side, and the SME and startup tech businesses is almost entirely self-serve. We're still available for them whenever they need us. We usually do customer review, customer feedback calls. But my favorite message, or one of my favorite messages in my day, is that Stripe notification when someone just opens up an account, transacts, and then just becomes a user with extreme sort of fluidity. And that's only possible now because almost a year ago we built around founders and we understood how they make decisions around our product. So yeah, that was a critical piece.
Yeah, it sounds like the I think you made some really good points. Number one, that founders are the ones who are going to feel that pain the most, right? Every problem is amplified. I think that it's a very good point. And I think also it's interesting that you started with founders. I know maybe it's for businesses, but they're also they're the ones that will like you said, because you're financially like a bit tight. That every bit of feedback is going to be very useful to you, and that's how you refine your MVP and do that and get it. And now it's great because you have that system. All of that experience and that knowledge now allows you to build the platform in a way that for, let's say, a small medium business or like a solopreneur like myself or whatever, that I can just I don't even need your intervention anymore, and you can focus now on the larger ticket clients. But I think one thing we haven't gotten clear and like explained. What is Crossval? I think to the audience, I think we've been talking about all the different things it does, but because I know it started as a financial like planning and analysis tool, and we've talked about the tracking and where that comes from. But for for the people who don't know, why don't you tell us what is Crossval and what does it do, and who would it benefit? Who needs it? Who would it benefit the most? The elevator pitch, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. We're building an AI accountant for companies in MENA.
An AI accountant.
Yeah.
Okay.
The focus is to empower your existing employees to help them focus on the more strategic elements of your business, as opposed to forcing them to do data entry, uploading Excel sheets, and things of that sort. So with Crossval, an SME, for example, can upload one set of their bank statements, drop all their invoices on WhatsApp or Google Drive, and it will do your entire books in just a few minutes. From there, if you have an in-house accountant or an accounting firm, or if you're the founder who's doing it themselves, can then get access to the insights. As your business grows, you can also get access to financing because it tracks your risk profile. And if you're a larger company with 10 or 15 employees in your finance teams, now all of a sudden they can be a lot more productive because they're not doing data entry. They're making decisions and helping you plan your finances better. So that's the sort of end-to-end value add that we try to capture. And we focus on tech companies, SMEs, as one of our main verticals. The second focus is real estate, and now the third focus we're unlocking is F&B. All these three industries have their own sort of problem sets around finance and accounting and tax, and we've been lucky to have early users who've helped us mold the product for these industries. So that's really the focus right now for what we're building.
Across those verticals and moving from founders to like large corporates and something, what I'm curious, there's always, I think, with something like what you're building or what I'm doing, every context is a little bit different. To your point, that different adoption cycles, different challenges, all that stuff. But there's always a throughput problem. There's always one or two, three problems that you'll find across and probably come up more than any other. So what are the typical challenges when people or companies are experiencing when it comes to accounting? What do you think they are? What have you learned them to be?
Yeah, I think a big one, if you use an outsourced firm, is just the quality and the pace of the work. It becomes a case of like, your accounting firm is not doing a lot for 11 months, and then in the 12th month when taxes are due, they're like, oh, we need like 300 documents from you. And that's a part of the system that's broken. Again, it's not a one-sided fault. I think it's both sides, but that is a slight problem. And that's why we're like building a tool that's more real-time as opposed to month-end or year-end focused. Then the second one is, again, the ability to connect all of these tools. So on traditional accounting or finance tools, you're able to connect a lot of data, but the data then just sits there. So these are systems of record that have been built over the past few years. But with the AI wave, you can have systems of action where not only are your transaction data points coming into a system, but the system itself, agentically, is figuring out what you need to do with these data points. So for example, it sees that, oh, this was a business spend on coffee. This is probably tax deductible. This was a revenue payment that came in. This was a sales payment that came in. Let me mark the invoice as paid, and that's marked as paid. So it's these actions that are typically done by humans can now be done by AI. So the human being can now look at the 100 actions that were taken and be like, cool, yes. Or maybe that was off, let me fix that. So it's evolving towards a field where systems of action are necessary, because a lot of the problems come from it's an overwhelming amount of information that you need to process, and we no longer need to do it because AI can. So that's the core issue of the industry, and that's what we're trying to resolve.
Okay.
It's just a lot of data. That can be automated now.
So the data, capturing all the data, the time lag, the real time, as we touched on earlier, the real time insights, and I think, and one of the ones that struck me was the outsourcing. I think with certain, I think everyone will give you a different answer to this, but I think there are some things in a business you should not outsource. You know what I'm saying? Like he's gonna come and tell me, he's gonna give me my accounting report, my tax report, like all that bullshit. But like that doesn't mean anything to me. Do you get what I'm saying? It's just a thing I need to do. I do it, but there's no bigger value I'm gonna get from it because I don't understand it.
Yeah,
I'm not involved with it, touching it, like on Correct. It. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
It wasn't built for you to make business decisions. It was built to submit to the government.
There you go.
Right.
There you go.
When in reality, the work that went into it could have done both, right? But the person doing it is so busy that they don't have time to do it for you. They're gonna do it to avoid the fine, and it's in your best interest to first avoid the fine. But you don't know that it's in your better interest to know what you're spending on. Yeah. But everyone's just so overloaded with like manual ops that this gets buried in the process.
And I think a big unlock, because I know one of the parts of the platform is also that, when it comes to VAT tax, it's compliant, it's you guys are regulated or whatever. So also it gives me comfort, like, working with these guys, I don't have to worry about all the rest because they've done it. That already has that stamp of approval, which 100%. Adds a lot of credibility to, gives me security as a user, but to you as your business also, that's a big stamp of approval. Yeah, for sure. No, we've been lucky, man. We got backed by Mohammed bin Rashid Innovation Fund. We've been one of the winners of Deloitte Fast 50. We're backed by MISC in Saudi. So these are like really cool government initiatives that are pushing innovative products like ours forward and allowing us to compete with some of the sort of the industry giants, and allowing us not just to compete but win against those. So we've been lucky in our journey to have all of that support from the government, I guess. Yeah, and we are, you guys, he was just telling me off camera that today he signed the new deal with the Dubai government, right? So maybe just tell us a little bit more, about that, and massive congratulations, of course. Thank you. Yeah, so Orisea Capital is one of our newest investors. They're coming on board. Very interesting. We last year we applied to their sandbox program, got rejected, but then built that relationship, showed up, shared more about the progress we've made. And this year when the program was kicking off, they decided to have a conversation with us. We said, okay, cool, let's try this out. So then when we got accepted in the program,
put in a lot more work, refined the positioning, and the team at RSA Capital helps you do that as well before you go to their IC. And yeah, earlier in the month we got a green signal from the IC, and yeah, like I said, I signed the documentation today. But
congratulations,
man! Thank you. It's been a fun journey.
Yeah.
And yeah, now off the back of this, because this is huge validation.
Of course.
Yeah, we're going to be raising a full round, getting new employees on board. So yeah, it's a big push towards becoming a unicorn from the region. So
yeah,
it's exciting.
And man, that's fucking awesome. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big.
Appreciate it.
There's always, I think, in the founder journey, there's milestones, right?
Yeah.
There's the days you look back like this was the deal, that was the client, that was the conversation that took me to that next level, and I'm 100% sure that this one is. I can't wait for what you're gonna do in 2026. I wanted to round off our conversation for today, my man, with just 2-3 more questions for you. Now, I want 4 more questions. So, everyone here is fintech, as you know, is one of the hottest spaces right now. The competition is fucking ridiculous. You know, I see left and right things popping up. I'm not in the space, but I'm interviewing people who are in the space, so I understand. What if I came to you today? I'm like, all right, AJ, I want to launch a fintech company in the UAE, in Dubai. What advice are you gonna give me? You know, like what was the challenges, I guess, of building? And it's not about building a fintech company here. I'm just using here as a reference because there's such a massive market being built here.
Yes. I don't know. I'm not big on like giving advice. I think advice is like a super weird space. Like I don't think anyone can really give you advice.
You could share lessons from your journey.
Yeah, from my sort of personal experience, I think figuring out your distribution first. I know this gets said a lot probably, but yeah, I think if you can figure out your customer base before the product, it takes a lot of like long-term thinking and a big picture type of approach. But if you can do that, that will help you massively. I don't know how you can do it for a lot of fintech players, but yeah, that would be the right way to do it in today's world, because it is so competitive. You can barely keep up with the pace of features. It has to be community led. But yeah, that would sort of be the single biggest thing a new founder could do is. Like Ronnie's doing, right? Like have a community, understand what the pain points are, and try to sort of build around them, try to solve them. Don't build a product and then try to find customers. Have customers, find the problem there, and then work backwards. To build the product. That's probably the best way to do it. Yeah.
Did the I think because those lessons apply, you know, across. I think those lessons apply across the board. I'm just trying to understand since you built a fintech thing specifically, what were the lessons or challenges you faced in that? Because as you know, there's the compliance angle. There's a big one in fintech is trust, right? You're dealing with money. You know, why the fuck would I give you my money if I will never give you my money if I don't trust you, right? So how did you address those challenges? Because I think that's the two probably big areas that you'd face. Each one is unique.
So when we set up in DIFC. And that made a huge difference because it is an innovation-focused environment, but it is also an environment that takes things like data protection, compliance, regulation very seriously. So from day zero, we had to comply with all of that because we're based there. So that sort of solves the problem as you go. Whereas I guess if we were in a different jurisdiction and then we had to comply later, it would be super complicated. So I think that gives you a big advantage. That would be one. In terms of other challenges like building credibility, user feedback is the best one. A lot, even till date, right? Just this morning, one of our users referred 3 new companies to come set up on Crossval. It's critical for that piece of your business to operate, because if that's not working, none of your other marketing is going to work, right?
100%.
Because there's no fundamental trust in the business. So early customers, win them, not just as customers, but like really involve them in the journey. So they're bought into the idea, they're bought into the features. A founder did this really well with me, and I sort of take it back to my company now. They did a feedback call with me, and I recommended a feature. And now the feature is live in their app.
Oh, right? Wow.
And every time someone uses it or compliments it, she sends me a screenshot of, hey, look, we built it. This is a cool idea. We tested with other people, and they loved it. And now I'm like super vested, right? Like I want this to be a success because like a little bit of me is involved. If you can get that from your early users, especially when you're building tech, it's very hard for big tech companies to do that, because if you look at like, I think Google does this really well, but all of the other tech companies struggle. If you look at like forums or reviews of big tech companies, there's very little that gets baked into the end product because there's just so much going on. But as an early stage company, you have that advantage where you can take sort of the key pain points. And again, now this is a bit of an art, not a science. This is your founder instinct that'll enable you to pick the right bits that you take back and build, and then there are bits that you ignore. Most of it you'll have to ignore, but the ones that you take back will build that initial trust and loyalty into the platform. So yeah, that would be another critical one. But yeah, talk to your users. I hear like people... Like I hear companies where they're like, oh, the founder, for the next week, the founder will onboard you himself. I'm like, why is that special? Like, why are you selling that? The founder is supposed to onboard the customers. Like maybe like, okay, if you're probably like Airbnb, they can't. But to the extent as a founder as you can, you have to, because you've got all the leverage in the company. And if you can understand what a customer needs with your instinct added in, you can pivot the whole business to solve all that.
That's a great
point. Yeah, so the founders being involved in the loop makes a big difference.
Yeah.
I think those 3 or 4 points just around customers is critical.
No, I think that's actually really, really, really good. That is advice, but it's lessons, you know.
You just gotta obsess like
you know. Like customer feedback for sure. I think, like you said, especially for founders being part, because no one knows the business better than you do, and no one can, and you're the only one who can influence change in the business, right? Yeah. Tomorrow you can be like, all right, guys, fuck all this, we're doing this, you know. And like you said, you do have a leverage of time compared to like large companies that have so much to make like a change, processes, this, But if it's your business and whatever, you have the ability to make those changes a lot quicker. And I think, like you said, setting up in the IFC already comes with that. Was a very smart move to get that stamp of approval from day one. And now look down the line a couple of years, it's, I'm sure it's served you in a lot of different ways.
100%. Yeah. It's sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. No,
no worries, man.
Yeah, you just gotta obsess. Like customers love that, because early days, like they love when like founders on, like it's like, think of yourself as well, right? Like you would love it if like the founder of Whoop was able to come to you and be like, hey, do you follow this thing? Do you follow that thing? So it is key.
Yeah, no, 100%, man. AJ, I want to round off our conversation today with 2 more questions. The other questions I ask all my guests.
Sweet.
So looking back at your life, when I ask you whether personally or professionally, what are you most proud of for yourself? What would you say?
I think just building like a balanced, happy life where I've got like good relationships, friends I've had for 20 years now, but I've still been able to chase my goals and my dreams and my ambitions, and just keeping all of that together is what brings me a lot of joy and pride. I think I take that very, very seriously, and I'm very lucky to have that, because a lot of people don't get it, especially a lot of ambitious people don't get that.
Yes, either one or the other, right?
Yeah, it's one or the other. And I think with maybe the things that have happened over the past 10, 20 years to us as a society, with like COVID and things changing, it has become easier. Maybe like our parents probably didn't have the luxury of doing both, but I think we do, which is awesome to have, and I'm super proud that I've been able to do it.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, and it's not on me; it's all of the people who like.
It's a team sport, right?
Yeah.
Like the happiness comes from the whole collective thing. It's your ambition, the relationships, all that. So I always to your point, that's something I share too. That's what I try to do as well. You know,
it's the best.
The relationships are the most important thing for me personally in my life, whether it's business, professional, personal. Sorry.
Yeah.
And for my last question, AJ, what is the message you'd like everyone to take home with them today?
That's such a difficult one. I think there's this thing that Kobe Bryant said, where, and it relates to sort of the previous point, where you're always gonna lean too much into your ambitions or too much into your comfort, and being successful is just about figuring out that balance and not falling over the other side. And if you can like find that balance, and it's a daily exercise, it's not a one thing. Like you just,
that is the real time exercise. That is the ultimate real time exercise.
Yeah. And he called that, he says that's the dance that you need to get good at. And if you can master that dance, then you will go a long way.
Yeah.
And it's so worth it, man. Like the days you nail it on the head, it feels so rewarding. There's nothing better.
Yeah.
And it pays off over long term, where like you have a really solid relationship and you have a really solid sort of career thing or an ambition thing or a business that you've built. It feels really good. And now's the time, man. Now you have the tools to like do this to the best of your ability. Like you running things the way you do, that's super impressive, right? And it's possible because you know enough about health and fitness, you know enough about wellness, you know enough about AI to keep yourself sane but still have really high output. So yeah, now's the time for anyone who's like trying to build a side hustle or a business. I don't think it will ever be as easy as it is right now, because in the next 10 years it's going to get super competitive and it'll get harder, in fact. But right now is where the alpha exists of like you can set yourself apart by building the right skills.
This is the time to build the next, Googles and
100%.
whatever, and that in 20 years be like, oh, they were just like we thought they were crazy. This is the time to be crazy. Yeah.
Imagine if those guys had this, man. Like,
thank God they did it. We need a new game. Yeah, 100%. For sure. Yeah. Well, man, AJ. Well, first, I love that. I love that message. I think it's. In all the conversations I have, whatever, it's always good to, I always tell people, in my opinion, balance is this magical place that doesn't exist. You know what I'm saying? And to your point, or to that quote, it is about that dance. Sometimes you will lean this way, sometimes you will lean that. It's all about not only just coming back to center of balancing personal and what, it's also just making sure you're doing enough of everything, you have at least enough metrics or things you do that keep you feeling happy, fulfilled, and motivated, and that encompasses
absolutely
everything that you just mentioned. Yeah. My man, AJ, thank you so much for coming on the show today, bro. This was a fucking fantastic conversation. I had so much fun. We had some good laughs, some good debates. The Whoop example will stick with me, and we'll carry on to a lot more of my conversations. Congratulations on the new announcement and support from the government and what you built. Something I think clearly, from your experience, that a lot of people need and will use. And so many things that you talked about today, I've learned from. So I wanted to just say thank you so much, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, man. This was it was both ways. It goes both ways. I had super nice time.
Awesome, my man. My pleasure, guys. Everyone listening, thank you. Before we round off. If anyone wants to check out Crossval, work with you guys, get in touch, what's the best place to find
just crossval.com. Go on there, sign up, and then someone from the team will reach out. Or like my personal Calendly is the one that's on the website, so they can just book a call there, or whichever way they want to go. But
cool.
We're super accessible.
Awesome, man. We'll make sure to put all that in the show notes. AJ,
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, man. Guys, everyone listening, thank you so much. Please make sure to like, share, and follow and share and subscribe to the podcast. I hope it helps. Pod on all channels. And as always, guys, hope it helps. Peace.
Awesome. Thank you. This was fun, dude.
Thank you, my man. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And that's another episode in the bag, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, podcasting is like this massive jigsaw puzzle, and my job is to help you find that missing piece. So if you're someone who's looking to launch their own podcast or take their podcast to the next level, you can book a call today and let's get started. TikTok.